First, Jim, I wanted to get your thoughts on the news that broke this past week, the passing of Killer Khan.
And for a lot of the folks who who aren't old enough or who weren't around at that point, Killer Khan was probably most famous in America for he had the run with the WWF in what was it? Was it 79-ish, 80-ish, 81-ish? What was the date of Andre's broken? 81, 82. And that time frame where Andre the Giant had an accident outside the ring and broke his ankle, but because he had to be out for a period of time, they actually incorporated it. They blamed Killer Khan for it and even showed some footage of Andre with his doctor and the size of his cast and it made something out of it. And that was unheard of at that point in time that anybody could injure Andre the Giant. I don't think it had ever been done, at least not on any widespread, maybe in Montreal in the early days, right? So that got him over with that audience. He had a ton of heat, but he was a real Japanese wrestler, and worked Japan for periods of time, both when he broke in and then later on when he went home to bookend his United States excursions. But he was huge for the Japanese wrestling scene. He was, much bigger than almost anybody except Baba. So he got over that way. And then, had the Mongolian look when that was fashionable over here in this country with the ponytail and the whole 9 yards and the big chops.
What'd you think of his screeching? I guess that's the best way to call it. The best thing to call it, screeching,
yes.
Right?
It was a screech, kind of like a larger, more intimidating looking guy doing Cactus Jack, so, at that level. And didn't he then, I mentioned he went back home and wrestled in Japan when his run in America was done, where he'd worked all kinds of territories. He was in Dallas for quite a while, wasn't he? Wasn't he part of Akbar's gang of foreign misfits at one point?
Yeah, well, he was with Akbar in Mid-South, and then he went to World Class, and actually, if you remember, there's a great match, I'm sure it must be available.
Gordy and Killer Khan.
With Kerry Von Erich as the referee, and this is before the Freebirds had officially turned babyface, and it's the first Freebird Von Erich handshake. It's Terry Gordy at the end, covered in blood, after one of the most brutal matches of the 80s, shaking hands with the Von Erich. Well, the Von Erich, with Kerry Von Erich.
Well, he was the Von Erich at the time to all the fans.
But what a match. One of the most brutal, bloody matches, but in the ring, not like around the arena with chairs. Yeah. It was an in-ring brawl.
Hey, in Dallas, you couldn't go around the arena with chairs or you'd have come back in the ring with knives sticking out of your ass. Fucking idiots. But anyway, yeah, for a big man, he was a great worker and he had the intimidating look. And then, but at the same time, he didn't just, when he went back home, he didn't just work a gimmick. He was a good worker. And then I guess owned a restaurant, right? For some period of time over the last number of years since he's been retired from the ring that some of the boys would visit from time to time.
Not just owning the restaurant. I believe he was the chef in the restaurant.
Well, there you go. He wasn't just the owner. He was a customer.
He wasn't. No. Well, yeah. Well, no. That's not how that works.
Well, that's how the Hair Club for Men fucking spot went. I'm not just the president. I'm a customer.
I don't know how you link Cy Sperling with Killer Khan.
Because he wasn't just the owner, he was the chef.
One of the best big men, I guess, in America during that era. Because he had a second run with Hogan in 87, I think.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. He was on one of the, oh, goddammit, you're probably better with the WWF history than I am. But wasn't he didn't they do an angle on one of the Saturday night's main events? Am I thinking about somebody else?
You may be thinking about somebody else, but you may be.
But I never met Killer Khan, in case you were going to ask that question. I'll preemptively strike. Never met him, believe it or not. When he was in Dallas before we got there, and Mid-South before we got there, and then WWF before I got there. He was a trailblazer. He was always there first.